Get over here.
Yelling at.
What is it doing? I have to ask, if this mower is clearly better, would you smack the switch? So my brother has owned a Husqvarna robot mower for a while now, and honestly, it works pretty well, which creates a problem because convincing somebody to switch from something that already works is nearly impossible, especially when that person is my brother. My brother would rather use an inferior product for the next 10 years than spend 20 minutes learning a new app. So today we're putting that theory to the test. I've got the new ECOVACS A3000 mower. He's got some ancient Husqvarna model, and we're going to see which one actually performs better. But more importantly, whether my brother can be convinced to join us in the current decade. Before we start, I should explain something. My brother isn't anti-technology. He has smart lights, he has Alexa, he has cameras, he just hates change. The second technology asks him to learn... Alexa, shut up. The second technology asks him to learn something new, update firmware, or create another account, he immediately starts questioning all of his life choices. So when I told him this mower doesn't need boundary wire, I could actually see him getting uncomfortable. Now, one of the biggest differences between these mowers is how they navigate. The Husqvarna relies on a boundary wire setup, which basically just bounces around the yard like an old Roomba, and the EcoVax uses Lidar, cameras, and onboard sensors to map the yard. Basically, it creates a digital model of a property without having to bury anything underground, which sounds awesome. Unless you're my brother. Because the moment somebody starts saying words like LiDAR and AI, he checks out mentally. The setup process was actually pretty simple.
It was a lot easier than the other one. That they took hours to bury all the cable and get it buried and make sure that the return wires were set correctly, and then making sure that it would go to each zone in the yard the way that it needed to. Also, we've had wire breaks 2 or 3 times now, so you got to find out where those are at and detect them. It's a huge pain in the ass to figure out where the wire breaks are, and then once the wire breaks are located, then digging them up and patching them in a way that's going to hold up. So having it be GPS is a lot easier. This was pretty easy to set up. I just scanned the QR code, entered the pin, walked it along the boundary, and that was pretty much it. All in all was roughly 30 minutes to set up.
She's prepared to work. Meanwhile, my brother was already talking about how his current motor works fine, which is basically his review of everything he owns. His mower, his truck, his grill, probably his underwear.
You might have noticed my underwear has a hole in it.
Once mapping was complete, it was time for the first real test, cut quality. Because at the end of the day, nobody cares how smart a mower is if the lawn looks terrible. And honestly, both of these mowers did a pretty good job. The grass looked even, coverage was consistent. Neither mower left huge missed patches, but there were definitely some differences in how they approached the yard. The EcoVax looked way more deliberate, making lines back and forth in a uniform pattern. The Husqvarna looked more like it was mowing based on confidence and positive thinking, just bouncing around the yard. Next up was navigation, and this is where things started getting interesting. The EcoVax uses LiDAR, cameras, and sensors to plan efficient mowing routes. It knows where it's been. It knows where it needs to go, and it generally wastes very little movement. The Husqvarna still gets the job done, but watching them side by side is a little like comparing a modern GPS navigation to printing MapQuest directions.
Show me on MapQuest.
Both will get you there. One just seems a little more aware of what's happening. Now it was time for obstacle avoidance. And for this test, we recreated the average Midwestern backyard. I think we got some socks, a shoe, a bottle of oil, I don't know, some random stuff, random tools, and enough clout to make Facebook Marketplace proud. This is where the cameras and sensors are supposed to shine, because robot mowers are great until they encounter literally anything unexpected. And honestly, the EcoVax handled most of it pretty well, which is more than I can say for certain family members when backing up a trailer. Next up was narrow passage testing. And this is one of those tests that sounds boring until your mower gets stuck between a fence and a landscaping bed. The tighter the space gets, the harder navigation becomes. And this is where smart path planning really matters. Because if a mower can't figure out a narrow side yard, eventually you're going to have to do it yourself. And that defeats the whole point. Now let's talk about the thing robot mowers still struggle with. Edge cutting. Because no matter how advanced these things become, eventually they'll all run into the same problem. Geometry. Driveways, sidewalks, landscaping borders, fence lines, tree rings. There's always some spot where grass wants to grow and the mower physically can't reach. The question isn't whether you'll still need a string trimmer, the question is how much trimming you'll still need. And honestly, this is probably the most important real-world test for most homeowners. Because robot mower companies love showing perfect lawns, but that's where people actually notice the results. After running all of these tests, I wanted to know what my brothers thought, because throughout the entire process, he basically been looking for reasons not to switch, and somehow that became my favorite part of the video. Because every time the mower does something impressive, his response wasn't excitement, it's annoyance that he might be wrong, and honestly, that's pretty relatable. What are some things that surprised you the most?
I'm surprised at how it avoids everything. Doesn't just run it over. Dogs leave toys out in the yard all the time and they get chewed up. Surprised at how it trims.
What annoyed you? But really anything?
Setting it up.
Yeah, that's really usually a pain in the ass. I agree with that. Would you actually switch?
Maybe, because it's already set up.
if you had to do it yourself, you'd be out.
Absolutely
You
not.
got that. So here's my verdict. The ECOVACS clearly brings some advantages. The mapping is impressive. Navigation was more advanced. Obstacle avoidance is better. The setup process is simpler than dealing with boundary wires. And overall, it feels like a modern approach to robotic mowing. The Husqvarna still does a good job. It's reliable. It's proven. And if you already own one, there's a reason you've probably been happy with it. But if I were buying a mower today, I'd lean toward ECOVACS. At the end of the day, though, this video proves something far more important than which mower is better. Technology evolves way faster than middle-aged men are willing to adapt, and no amount of Lidar, AI, sensors, cameras, or smart navigation can overcome pure stubbornness. Trust me, I've tested it. And unlike these mowers, that obstacle still hasn't been solved.